This one hits hard. This deep dive is going to take us to India. Kochi, Kerala, to be exact.
Yeah.
And it's a really tough story. A 15-year-old student took his own life. And we're going off this news article, and it really dives into what happened. The details are just awful.
Yeah, it really paints a stark picture, doesn't it?
It really does, especially when you hear the mother's account. She shared it on Facebook, and she actually filed a petition with the Child Commission. And you really get a sense of the relentless bullying that this poor kid went through.
It's hard to even process sometimes, isn't it? Like when you hear these kinds of stories, it's easy to get caught up in the individual acts of cruelty, but we have to remember to kind of zoom out a little bit, look at the bigger picture. You know,
right?
This isn't just about one child's suffering. This is about a whole system that failed him.
I mean, the article goes into some truly horrific incidents. It talks about the victim being forced to lick toilet seats.
Yeah.
Having his head shoved into a toilet and flushed.
Yeah.
Physical assaults, constant verbal abuse, shamed for his skin color.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine being 15 and dealing with that constantly?
Well, I mean, even trying to put myself back in those shoes, you know, when you're that age, your peers are your whole world, right? Like, you crave their approval. Their opinions shape who you think you are. And to have that twisted into something so cool and hateful, like you said, it's hard to imagine the pain and humiliation he must have gone through.
Yeah, and these attacks, they don't just cause pain, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's psychological. It changes how you see yourself.
Yeah.
And it can be so hard to believe that you're worthy of anything else, you know? Like, to believe that you deserve respect or kindness, it's devastating.
Absolutely. And, you know, sadly, the trauma that comes from that kind of relentless, it's deep, it's long-lasting. You carry it with you.
And this wasn't just like something that happened in a corner somewhere. The article mentions, and this is just horrifying, a chat screenshot where some students were actually celebrating his death. Yeah. It's just... It's beyond bullying at that point. It's a complete and total lack of empathy for another human being. Yeah. For their life.
It's chilling, isn't it? And it really makes you question the environment in that school, the culture. Like, was this an isolated incident, or is there something more deeply wrong? You know, a lack of empathy, a disregard for human life. Like, was that already there? And were the adults, were the people in charge completely oblivious?
Right.
Because an environment like that, especially for someone who's already vulnerable, like, come on, how dangerous is that? It's a breeding ground for this kind of horror.
And to make matters worse, you know, the mother is claiming that the school was trying to cover it all up. Like, they pressured the victim's friends to take down an Instagram page they had set up to try to get justice for him. Yeah. It's like their biggest concern was protecting their own reputation instead of actually protecting the students.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, when institutions start putting image over well-being, that's a recipe for disaster.
Right.
Because what does that say? What kind of message does that send? You have to be transparent. You have to have a genuine commitment to addressing harm. You know, you can't just sweep things under the rug and pretend everything is fine. That's not how you create a safe environment for anyone.
And the mother, she's calling for systemic change. She's not just looking for justice for her son, but she wants to prevent this from ever happening to anyone else. And that's a powerful plea. So, I mean, what can schools actually do to actually address this, to address bullying effectively?
I mean, it can't just be about anti-bullying programs. It's got to be about the whole culture.
Right.
You have to build respect. Inclusivity has to be baked in from the start.
Right.
You need strong mental health support systems to catch the kids who are struggling. You need to equip the staff, the teachers, to be able to spot bullying, address it before it gets out of hand. And the message has to be loud and clear that this is not tolerated.
This whole thing also makes me think about the role of social media. I mean, on one hand, it was a platform for the friends to speak out to try to demand justice. But then you have that chat, you know, the one where they're celebrating the kid's death. It's just...
Right. It really is. Like, social media it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Powerful tool for communication, but it can amplify negativity so easily. I think we all need to step back and be a lot more mindful.
This whole case, it's a stark reminder that bullying is not just kids being kids. It has devastating consequences. And it forces us to ask, I mean, us as individuals and as a society, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What more can we do to create truly safe and supportive environments?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm wondering, you listening right now, have you ever seen this happen online? How can we use social media to fight back, to actually counter this kind of toxicity?
Yeah. Something we all need to be thinking about.
It really is.
Yeah.